Alright guys, back again. This is your lesson for Wednesday, April 6th, and we're looking still at perimeters. And I kind of went over this yesterday on the video, so if you watched it, it might be a good review. If you skipped over it like I said to do, then we can work on it together. So here's the trick to do when they give you both sides and you need to find the perimeter. Probably the easiest thing to do is to add these two together first. So the first step is to add them together, which would be 3 1/2 plus 2 1/2. Go ahead and do that. 1/2 and 1/2 is 1 whole. We'll write it as 2 halves for right now. And 3 plus 2 is 5. Now we just said that 2 over 2 is the same thing as having 1. So 5 plus 1 is 6. So this plus this is 6, but we're still missing these other two sides. So after you add them together, you just simply multiply by 2. 6 times 2 is 12 feet. So that's what I want you to try and do on this one. Add these two together, then multiply by 2. So taking a look at this one, we should have done 3 2/4 plus 3/4. And 2/4 plus 3/4 is 5/4. 3 plus 0 is 3. Now what you could do is you could simplify that right now. Your other option would be just to take and multiply it by 2 before simplifying it. 3 times 2 is 6. And then if we put that over 1, 5 times 2 is 10. 4 times 1 is 4. And you'd end up with 6 10/4. But we wouldn't leave that 10/4 the way it is. We're going to keep the 6 and 10 divided by 4 to figure out what this is as a mixed number. 4 goes into 10 2 times. 4 times 2 is 8. And subtract. And you get whole number 2, numerator 2, denominator 4. So 6 plus 2 2/4. Or 6 plus 2 is 8. 2/4. So that's what you do if they give you both sides. I messed up there. Alright, there we go. Now, on this one, they're not giving you both sides. They're giving you the perimeter, so what everything is together, and the length. Well, if you're doing that, what you need to do is understand that if that's 3/10, this is also 3/10. So this whole thing, including the greens, is going to be 8/10. 3/10 plus 3/10 is 6/10. So the blues added together, if you were going to figure out how much fencing you needed, would be 6/10. The total thing is 8/10. So 8/10 minus 6/10 is 2/10. But the problem with that is that this plus this is 2/10. We need to split this in half. So you'd have to think to yourself, what's half of 2/10? You know that the denominator is going to stay the same, and half of 2 is 1. So if we did this right, everything should add up. 1/10 plus 3/10 is 4/10. 5/10, 8/10. See how we did that? Just adding up the sides. So now, taking a look at this next one, they're telling you that this side is 1 1/10, which means that this side also is 1 1/10. So the first thing we got to do is add these together. Go ahead and do that. And now you can probably do that in your head. 1 plus 1 is 2, and 1/10 plus 1/10 is 2/10. Now, that's these two sides. To figure out what the other two sides are going to be, we have to take 4 6/10 and subtract that. And this is pretty easy to do too. So, we know we're going to have tenths because we're subtracting, and that isn't going to change. 6 minus 2 is 4. And 2 minus 2 is 2. Well, that's both of these combined, so we still need to split this in half. We need to divide it by 2, which actually isn't hard to do. You can probably do that in your head. what's half of 2? 1. You know we're going to have tenths. What's half of 4? 2. So the blues are 1 and 2 tenths. Here's how you check that. 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 4. 2, 3, 5, 6 tenths. So the length is 1 and 2 tenths. Let's take a look at these last two. Maybe you can try these on your own. Okay. So we know that the width of both of them is 6 tenths. That means that if this is 6 tenths, this is also, or excuse me, that's 6 tenths, 6/100ths, my bad. So both of those combined then, if we added those up, would be 12/100ths. Well, if you think about that, what you'd have to do is take this and subtract it from this. And I'm going to move that 6/100ths out of the way here. Okay, we know we're going to have hundredths. 18 minus 12 is 6. And bring down the 2. We have to split this in half because together it's both of these, but we just want one of these sides. So half of 2 is 1, half of 6 is 3, and then your 100 stays the same. So 1 and 3/100ths. Alright, I'd like you to try number 6 on your own. This whole thing is 8 2/3, but this side right here, the length, is 2 2/3. Go ahead and try and figure out what the width is. And if you get stuck, hit play. I'll get you started, and then you can try the next step. So hopefully you are working on this. What I would do first is I know that if this is 2 2/3, so is this. So I'm going to double that. 2 plus 2 is 4, and 2/3 plus 2/3 would be 4/3. Now what I have to do is take that and subtract it. Now here's what I know. I'm actually going to do this horizontally. Is when I do this, the 4 4/3 is going to stay the same. Now I'm going to change this. Cross out the 8, I'm going to make it a 7. It becomes 3/3. The extra 1 that I took away. 3 plus 2 is 5/3. Now I can do this problem. You can solve this without me. I'd go ahead and pause it. 7 minus 4 is 3, and 5 minus 4 is 1/3. Now here's the problem that we run into, is that you may not be able to cut 3 1/3 in half. But one thing that we could do is change this back into an improper fraction and see what that does for us. Because 3 times 3, we know it's going to stay thirds, so I'm going to help you this. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 more is 10. Now it's a little easier to cut in half, because you can leave it as thirds, and what's half of 10? 5. And 5/3, if we simplify, how many 3's go into 5? 1. 3 times 1 is 3. Subtract, you get 2. 1 2/3 is your width there. Okay, so here's what we're doing for your math boxes today. We have a shorter lesson today, and that's okay. We are going to finish these, finish that. If you haven't finished this yet, remember this was your homework from yesterday. It's going to be 450 minus 11 times 22 plus 9 times 18. When you do this, I mentioned this yesterday, when you do 11 times 22, that's like 10 plus 1 times 20 plus 2, and you have to use them both twice. 20 times 10, 20 times 1. 2 times 10, 2 times 1. You're going to have 4 things to add together at the end. When you do this one, the 19 times 18, all you really got to do there is go 10 times 9 and 8 times 9 and add them together. When you get your answers for those, add those together and subtract from 450. This one I thought that you might have a little trouble with, box 4. So I'm going to kind of help you with this, and it's actually not so bad, but we're going to take a look at that. Okay. It says, which costs less, 4 cups of fruit punch at 59 cents per cup, or 5 cups of orange juice at 49 cents per cup? Well, here's what I would do. You can multiply this just the same way you always would. 4 times 59. And actually, I might do it like this. 59 times 4, and 49 times 5. So when I do this, go ahead and solve those. Okay, 50 times 4, I put a 0. 5 times 4 is 20. And 4 times 9 is 36. Now watch what I do. This is so easy. Point, point. There's your money right there. The last two digits are always going to be your cents. Then you add up. So that would be $2.36. Now try multiplying this together, and remember, after you get it done, put in your decimal points. So if I were doing this, 5 times 40, I put a 0. 5 times 4 is 20. Last two are cents. And 5 times 9 is 45. $2.45. So now, the number models that you should have had were 0.59 times 4 equals 5 times 0.49 equals, and then whatever those are, your last one would be $2.45 minus $2.36. And I'll let you solve that on your own because this was an assignment for today. You can go ahead and finish that on your own, and you'll get we'll review the answers tomorrow. The last thing that I need to do with you, or to review with you, is your homework from yesterday on this one. And I think the biggest thing to do with this is to realize, and I've shown this a couple times, that there's a pattern to this. When we're splitting things up into eighths, this 1/2 is the same as 4/8 because 4 is half of 8, 1 is half of 2. It's just reducing the fraction. The next one, because this is 4/8, would be 3 5/8. And the one after that would be 3 6/8. But 6/8, if I divide 6 in half, I get 3. If I divide 8 in half, I get 4. So you could write it as 3 3/4. And this one would be 3 7/8 because it's 1/8 away from being 4. This one here is 4 1/8 because it's 1 jump on the way to 5. There's 8 jumps. Okay? The odds are always over 8. 1/8, 3/8, 5/8, 7/8. The evens are always going to be over a reduced fraction. So, like this one could be 4 2/8, but it's the same as 4 1/4. And the last one would be 4 3/8, and we're back at a half. The next one would still be 4 5/8, 4 3/4, 4 7/8, 5 1/8, 5 1/4, and so on. Down at the bottom, it's just taking the biggest number with an x and the smallest number with an x and subtracting them. And for how many bracelets were sold less than 5 inches, count everything that's this side of 5. And I'll post the answers to those probably Monday when we come back to school. Alright guys, that's it for today.